The 2004 FIM Motocross World Championships are firmly underway, and despite some inclement weather in Belgium for round one, an excellent display of racing was on show, with Cedric Millot and Ben Townley taking the overall wins in the MX1 and MX2 classifications respectively. Round 2 of the series visits the Bellpuig circuit deep in the heart of the Catalan countryside, northern Spain. The views in this shallow hillside setting are quite spectacular, and the venue is a popular one with both fans and riders. Bellpuig is a sleepy rural hamlet set roughly a 30-minute drive away from the city of Lleida and a good hour away from the cosmopolitan rush of Barcelona. Untainted for the vast majority of the calendar year, Bellpuig becomes a teeming mass of activity for one weekend out of the 52, and Lleida is a popular source of amenities. This will be the 4th year the motocross has been hosted by the town since the change of format, and a large draw of fans is always expected. Italian team Rosetta were struggling for fit riders in Spain, with ex-world champions Alessio Chiodi and Andrea Bartolini both nursing injuries to their right hands. Chiodi especially will be sitting out this GP and the next. Factory Kawasaki rider Steven Sword celebrated his first ever podium result 1 week ago in Zolder, also giving the new Kawa 254 stroke its first piece of silverware. A new addition to the paddock having made their debut in Zolder with the British RTT Honda team. Carl Nunn and promising teenager Jason Dugan are both riding Honda 250Fs. The first qualifying race got underway in bad conditions as 6 hours of rain drenched the Spanish circuit. Once again it was all about the factory KTM 250s of Ben Townley and Mark Daruba, as the former were gone to take advantage of the latter's mistake to earn first choice in the gate. Italian newcomer and a rider who's been doing well in his national series, Antonio Carioli, was a man to catch in the second heat from Frenchman Sébastien Pourcel, as the pair racked up their best qualifying positions ever. The MX2 class are the first riders in the gate here today at Bellpuig. As you can see, the rain is still coming down, the track very slushy. The riders in the gate, Ben Townley in first position after winning that qualifying heat yesterday. Sébastien Pourcel's in the inside slot as they head down to this first corner. It's going to get pretty messy as they slide into this first right-handed turn, and a lot of riders running wide. That is Jeff Dement gone down, number 64. That's also Jamie Dobb, who's run wide. So the riders coming through as per usual in these kind of conditions. The cleanest ones are the guys who got the whole shot, with Ben Townley, the winner of that qualifying race quite comprehensively yesterday, is now out front in front of the two factory Kawasaki's of Steven Sword and Michael Mascia, and that is Dement on that 250cc 4-stroke Honda, trying to get going again. And as you can see, as the riders come through the whoops, the conditions here verging on the unrideable. Steven Sword wandering off towards the end of the whoops, has lost a few positions. Now he's come through okay. Everybody else trying to thread their way through the slime and the gunk. As you can see, a mess of carnage, slime and machines there on this first lap. I assume quite a few of the riders are going to go down throughout the duration of this race, and I don't just mean the guys towards the back, but also leaders like Ben Townley here, number 30. He's got to be on his watch because it can be so easy to make a mistake in these kind of conditions. A single racing line is going to be carved out over the duration, but for these first few opening laps, it's going to be very tough for these riders. We've got 35 minutes and 2 laps to go, and Tyler Rattray at the bottom of the hill's making a mistake. He is also going to leave position for Pourcel, number 90, just going up the bottom there. But Townley is definitely the man with the advantage at the moment. He's got a clear vision ahead of him. Doesn't have to worry too much about his goggles or his kit being weighed down by that gunk. In second place is still Michael Mascia, the 2002 world champion on that new Kawasaki 4-stroke. And Steven Sword gave the bike its first podium result last week in Zolder, and now in third place he's poised to do a similar result. As you can see, Townley splashing through the puddles. Bellpuig is on a slight hill, so all the water's running down to the start finish straight. And as they go across the line for the first lap, Mark Daruba, that's Ben Townley's teammate, a moto winner in Zolder last week, back end of the bike squirting all over the place as he tries to get the power down and find some grip. Somebody else has gone down. It's hard to make out the riders here and all this mess. And that's Pascal Lorette, one of the promising French youngsters on the KTM. Bike smoking away. He's going to get going again. And the whoops, they barely exist at the moment, just a sea of ruts. And Mark Daruba's crashed. Mark Daruba reached the second bump and he's gone down on the hay bales. If he can get the bike back up, and overextends and falls over again. So Mark Daruba going through a bit of a comedy moment here in the whoops. But this for sure is going to wreck his chances of a race win, because Ben Townley just setting the fastest lap on the opener there, with the red number plate to signify he was the overall winner from last weekend, the young New Zealander. on that factory Austrian machine is leading the way. He's got something of a gap now from Mikel Mascia, and Jonathan Barragan, the latest Spanish teenage youngster to emerge on the scene, is in third place. He's going to try and chase down the Kawasaki of Mascia going into this right-hander, and Barragan slipped off as well, so Jonathan Barragan is not having fun here in the Spanish mud, and someone gives him a good roost just to add to his misery, and Barragan kissing goodbye to a podium chance here in the first moto. But Ben Townley out on his own. He hasn't even ditched his goggles yet, so you can see the advantage of being away in this mud on your own out of the front. Is well away from the Kawasaki duo in second and third, and heading again for another moto victory. This should be Mikel Mascia finding his way through the grooves in second place. Number 71, the Frenchman, just gunning himself around there. And you can see the rider still going down. Impression on the hillside like that, he's going to struggle to get going. In third place now is Tyler Radcho. We saw him made a mistake a little bit early in the race, but he's moved his way up a position, and Mark Deruva is having more trouble. That KTM's almost submerged in the mud there, so Deruva not having a happy race. And well, that image just about sums it all up really, doesn't it? Can't see where you're going and just about getting there. And we're having a little bit of an interesting tussle for second now, because Mascia has been caught by Radcho. Sword also in attendance. I think Deruva is somewhere up there in the melee. And Ben Townley almost making a mistake and going wide. Is he going to keep the bike running? If it stalls it, he's in danger of losing that moto win, but he keeps going. So Ben Townley coming very close there to losing all of his hard work over this 35-minute and 2-lap duration of the moto. And Mikel Mascia going up step-ups, loses his grip and goes down. So Mikel Mascia also crashing, and Tyler Rattray lands on him dramatically but keeps the bike upwards. And Stephen Sword, is he going to take advantage of that? I think so. And Mascia, is he going to get going? I'm not sure. He's right on the incline. He's going to have to get that Kawasaki restarted and have to push for the final few moments of this opening race here in Bellpuig. But Ben Townley, number 30, he survived a couple of scares, and who wouldn't in these kind of conditions? But the New Zealander is going to cross the line to take victory, and 25 points here in Spain. A good ride by the youngster.
Yeah, definitely. My plan was to get the whole shot and go from there, but started about third in the first turn, and I knew it was vital to get to the lead as soon as I could. And up the first straightaway I took it, so yeah, I was pretty happy. I stayed consistent the whole race and stayed on, so it was good.
The second and last race of the MX2 classification here in Bellpuig sees race 1 winner Ben Townley, the favourite for overall success and first in the gate after his win yesterday in qualification next to Antonio Carioli, who won the second qualifying heat. The riders, the two KTM factory boys, 17 and 30 there together. Townley and Deruva, who's going to get the drop into the first corner now. The significantly dried out Bellpuig circuit with a bit of sunshine here in the afternoon. The weather conditions changed for the majority of the weekend. As you can see, it's not quite the mud bath of the first 35 minutes and 2 laps that we had earlier on this afternoon. And Mascia, having tasted a little bit of disaster there towards the final stages of the opening race, number 71 now leads the way, and Townley almost going down and making a mistake on that wide turn. The riders trying to find some different lines out here, the track hardening up a little bit. Mascia opting for the inside line, Townley going for the outside. That could be to his detriment, and he slipped off, so Townley losing the back end of the KTM on the last hump of the whoops, goes down, and that has put him at immediate disadvantage here in Bellpuig. The New Zealander looking to go for the overall win for the second time in a week, and now I think he's down in something like 6th or 7th position. There he is, Townley, just inside the top 10, and that leaves Mikel Mascia out in the front. And as you can see, a significantly drier line after the MX1 Moto for these 250cc 4-strokes and 125cc 2-strokes, a real mix in this classification. And Carioli is in second position, the young Italian who's made quite a splash on the domestic scene in his native homeland, signed up to ride alongside Claudio Federici in the Ducati racing team for this season, number 222. Comprehensively won his qualification heat yesterday. Carioli really one for the future, and quite a spectacular rider as the reports from Italy have indicated. And in third position, I'm just looking back, and you can see, I think that's Andrew McFarlane, number 15 on the Yamaha UK machine. So McFarlane, the Australian, who will be riding the British Series as well as the Grand Prix this year, holding third place, and I can't quite make out who's in fourth. But Mascia leading the way, and Carioli trying to close some gap on the Frenchman at the front, and almost makes a pass up the inside, but Mascia has the better drive coming down the hill for the first time. Gets a little bit out of shape. If he'd done that in the previous moto, he might not have stayed on board, but Mascia now looking to stretch out an advantage, very much like Townley did just a couple of hours ago. And Cairoli really challenging, trying to take that first spot away. And is he going to go and try and do it on the start and finish straight? He's looking for the inside, almost loses the front wheel, and they almost touch. But Mascio defending the lead, and Cairoli really making a show here for the Spanish crowd, who, to be fair, have turned out in a sizable portion, considering the weather conditions this weekend and the continual rain of Saturday. And Patrick Caps has gone down. Patrick Caps, who crashed in the warm-up at Zolder last week. He couldn't compete in the GP, and now having similar luck here in Bellpuig. So the Belgian, who was a contender for the 2002 World Championship on a KTM, not having the best start to the season. And Mark de Ruver, number 17, has pretty much come out of nowhere. I think he was holding that fourth position. He's just in front of his KTM teammate, Tyler Rattray, number 16. Rattray, of course, on the 125cc two-stroke, the bike that's won a couple of world championships in the last few years. I think it's 3 and 4. And Cairoli's crashed in the whoops. So Cairoli, his quest for the win here in the second moto has gone. Mark de Ruver has pushed through. Rattray and McFarlane also in contention. Sebastian Porcel on the 4-stroke Kawasaki going through the whoops as well. He was looking awesome through there in practice yesterday. He was one of the fastest riders going through the whoops, but now the obstacle are quite different kettle of fish. And de Ruver in second place has dropped McFarlane in third, and he's going to be challenging for that leading spot very soon. In the meantime, McFarlane just trying to defend that. He's dropped back to fourth actually, so McFarlane in fourth now, and under a little bit of... In the meantime, Tyler Rattray is in pole position for the overall win after his decent result in the first moto, and holding third place now. Tyler Rattray, as I was mentioning, on that 125cc two-stroke, just behind Mark de Ruver, and I think de Ruver might be shutting down Michael Mascio. In the meantime, there's a KTM down the slope, and it's Townley. So Townley having his second crash of the day. He's on the one of the highest parts of the circuit there at the top of the hill, and I don't know if he's going to get going from that position, but for sure Ben is going to be losing positions within the top 10, and that's not good at all. But in the meantime, we've got quite an interesting battle here going on for the lead between Michael Mascio and Mark de Ruver, who's been closing time hand upon fist on the Kawasaki. And is he going to make a move up the inside here? That'd be pretty audacious, and he's done it. So Mark de Ruver takes the lead quite spectacularly, looks across, and Mascio, I don't know if he wants to say sorry to him there for pretty much pushing him out. But Mark de Ruver, who won the opening moto in Zolder on that new KTM machine, is now leading proceedings here in Spain under some sunshine, thank goodness it has to be said. And Tyler Rattray still in third place and on course for that overall success. Andrew McFarlane in fourth place, and with Ben Townley off his back, perhaps afford to ease off a little bit at the top of the hill. And that's Rattray. Rattray's crashed in the same place as Mascio did in the first moto, so Tyler Rattray, it's vital that he gets going again and retakes that position from Andrew McFarlane if he's going to stand any chance of scooping his first ever GP win here today. And Mark de Ruver's out on his own at the front. He's pretty much having a stroll here in the Spanish countryside. And number 17, he is now the virtual GP leader. So Mark de Ruver, after that fourth position in the first moto, only has to hang on and complete the rest of the race distance here in first place to enjoy the overall success here in round 2 of the 16 race World Championship series. And de Ruver just guiding that KTM through the whoop section. This is probably the most difficult part. You can see the worn line that everyone seems to be taking, and de Ruver stopped. I think he may have stalled the bike. He's on a little bit of trouble, and you can see Mascio, number 71 in second place, is coming through to take it, and de Ruver can't restart the bike. You can see his frustration is evident, and that's desperately bad luck for the Dutchman. De Ruver, who showed his superior speed and class in this race, and it's all been robbed from him by some technical problems with that new KTM. And that leaves Andrew McFarlane now bounce up to second place, Michael Mascio, the new leader, and Rattray back in third and in contention for that overall win once more. So we watch the KTM coming down the hill. There is a confirmation on the graphic. Tyler Rattray is now the main man and heading on for his first career GP success. Mascio, he's been handed this first position on a plate thanks to the bad luck of Mark de Ruver. Looking a bit further down the order, Sebastian Porcel in fourth. That might be his best GP result to date. Cairoli is in fifth. Stephen Sword down in sixth. That might be enough to give him a spot on the podium in overall results. Tano Leok in seventh. Carl Nunn down in eighth. That's the first of the Honda machines in this race. And Rattray going up the step-ups now. There's not long to go in this GP, and I'm not too sure whether he's going to be able to close on Andrew McFarlane or not. Just having a look at the lap times, they're pretty much similar. Lost a little bit ground on lap 13, but then was a half a second faster than the Australian. on the lap just past. And Mascio now working his way through the back markers with the one line here on this soft track. You can see the dry line where the mud is pretty much scraped away, and you've got the stony surface underneath. Very slippery in itself, but Mascio on his last lap just has to gently ease the Kawasaki around the circuit past these lap riders, and he will have that 25 points in the bag. And here is Tyler Rattray on his last lap. He is going to be heading towards his overall win. Just if he can keep the bike on two wheels, Michael Mascio will be extra sensitive, having thrown it away in the first moto and finished 15. Jonathan Barragan, number 83, also in the picture. Didn't do so much in this moto. But Michael Mascio wins the second race here in Bellpuig. The Frenchman who won the GP here in 2002 has also won here this season. And Tyler Rattray, celebrating his success, is going to come around this final turn. So the South African takes the overall success here in Spain for round two. Congratulations to the KTM rider. So here's the confirmation of results. Tyler Rattray takes the overall from Andrew McFarlane, Stephen Sword, and Michael Mascio ends up in fourth.
It felt really good. The track today was real difficult. In the first moto it was real muddy, and in the second moto it was completely different and it was dry. Had one line and it was dry, but yeah, in the second race I made a little mistake going up the hill, but yeah, I got up quickly and managed to finish.
VIPs, including Yamaha's general manager and the president of the Sugo circuit, were taking in the Grand Prix action. The Catalan government was another spectator enjoying the scene. This is a very interesting sport, and it's fascinating to see the different riding styles in the wet and the dry. Bellpuig is a great circuit for this type of event, and an important one in the World Championship. Enduring the conditions at his home race, Javier Garcia Vico is not only waiting for the rain to stop, but also to take delivery of his brand new Aprilia machine that was still not race ready. Time practice to determine the rank of the 30 riders in the gate for Sunday's programme of racing was held in cold and very wet conditions, with the track forcing an exercise in caution. Nevertheless, Kenneth Gunderson was second fastest, teasing his KTM around the Spanish slopes and the one true fast line. He was half a second quicker than Yamaha rider Stefan Everts. But three times former winner at this circuit, Michael Pichon was out front once more. The Frenchman revels in the slippery train and took his second pole of the year. The MX1 riders in the gate begin their first outing here at Bellpuig. As you can see from the track, this race just held after the initial MX2 moto. And just seeing who's going to get the drop into the first corner there. I think Joel Smet's made a decent start, but it's Brian Jorgensen, number 8, on the Tiscali 450 Honda, leading the way, and he's got a flyer. He's already got about 10 metres going into the first long left-hand spoon turn. He's going to come down, turn right, and head into the whoops for the first time. It's going to be a tremendously difficult obstacle in these kind of conditions, as we saw in the MX2 moto, and several of the riders already absolutely plastered. It's going to be difficult to make them out, but Jorgensen, pristine and clean, and his goggles will be also. That's going to give the Honda man a distinct advantage here early on in the race. And number 7, that's Cedric Malott. He's the winner from the last GP, and there he is lifting up someone's bike. I think it's Christian Burnham just to free him. So it's nice of the Belgian to help out a fellow rider before he actually gets his own machine going. But Cedric Malott, this is an absolute disaster. Talk about contrasting fortunes. Just 7 days ago, the Belgian, a winner at his home GP, and now buried in the mud. We can see from the wide angle 3 riders involved there. Burnham underneath the 2 or 3 bikes. And Malott, is he going to get going? He is. So Cedric Malott, he's got maybe 20 to 30 seconds to make up on the rest of the pack now, and Burnham struggling to find that gear lever. But Jorgensen threading his way through the mud, trying to find that one line, and the Honda almost spitting him off as he goes up the hill. Dramatic stuff here. So Brian Jorgensen got a hefty lead already. In second place is Kevin Strybos on that 4-stroke Suzuki, a brand new machine for 2004. Kevin Strybos, the 18-year-old Belgian, who scored his first GP top 3 result last week in Zolder, now in second position. Always a lightning start of Strybos, and the 450 Suzuki proving very strong out of the gate. And Stefan Everts in 3rd place. This is the best start of the season so far for Stefan Everts. There's been only 2 today. Stefan crashed starting the second moto in Zolder, and the first one was equally as forgettable for the 7 times world champion. But Stefan Everts, the number 72 Yamaha machine, the reigning world champion, coming through in 3rd position now. and with a little bit of time and space to plan out his race strategy and even try and just make his way through the bumps. As you can see, both feet down. That's quite unusual for Stefan, such a collected and neat rider. But Everts knows this could be something of a race of attrition, to borrow a cliche. And he filters through. Strybos nearly 5 seconds behind Jorgensen. Everts a couple more seconds behind, and Kenneth Gunderson on the KTM. So we've got 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. Josh Coppins on the 450 Honda in 5th, the same bike more or less as Brian Jorgensen. Joel Smets in 6th place. So a good start for the Suzuki team, both bikes within the top 6 as they snake down this steep, slippery part of the circuit. The huge horseshoe going up onto the top part, and Coppins trying to close down the gap to 4th, with Kenneth Gunderson just in front of him. I can't see anything yet of Steve Ramon, the first moto winner, and Monik Baverts, who was the former teammate of Stefan Everts in that LNM Yamaha team, again on a Yamaha this season, but tasting a little bit of Spanish mud here today. And Smets is more or less on his own in this early stages. The 34-year-old 5 times world champion in 6th place at the moment, of course riding without a ligament in his right knee. And number 8, Brian Jorgensen's crashed in the whoops. The Honda rider, he's got Kevin Strybos trying to thread his way past behind him, and Jorgensen's going to lose precious time here. And Everts, I think, also is going to grab 2nd place. The bike is still running, so that's good luck for the Dane. But Everts carrying a little bit more momentum. Is he going to take that 2nd position away? And Michael Bichon, the Frenchman, we haven't spoken about him yet. He's buried in the same rut that claimed Marc de Ruva in the MX2 moto a little bit earlier on. It doesn't look like the Frenchman's going to be budging from there. The teammate to Brian Jorgensen, Michael Bichon, that's desperately bad luck for him after holding pole position yesterday in the severe rain and cold conditions on Saturday afternoon. Michael Bichon had a pretty horrendous start. And there he is, trudging back to the pits, and well, you can hardly see his face as he's absolutely caked in the mud. And his bike's still buried out there in the Spanish soil somewhere. And Brian Jorgensen's out also, so Brian Jorgensen, the bike's smoking away there. He's obviously had some kind of mechanical failure. He's nowhere near as dirty as he should be if he's been face down in the mud. So for the Tiscali Honda team, and Smets also going down. He gets his bike going back round the other way. So all the riders finding the conditions here pretty tricky, it has to be said. 3 seasoned veterans, pros at this level. Brian Jorgensen, Michael Bichon and Joel Smets having their problems. And we're looking at Kevin Strybos, who's got hardly any experience by comparison to the 3 who've almost gone out of this race. Smets is going again, to be fair to him, but Jorgensen, having led this GP at one point, has broken down. So the Tiscali Honda team, the Italian setup, will be having a moto to forget here. Of course, there's another chance to put it all right in the 2nd heat. And Smets, again in trouble in the whoops. The Belgian, he's not a great fan of the whoops obstacle. And it looks like he's trying to get that Suzuki started. He's losing a lot of positions here. You can see the riders just trying to edge their way past him there. And this leaves Stefan Everts, I think, in the lead. In 2nd place, we're looking at Kenneth Gunderson, number 10. So much easier to tell the riders on the backs of their shirts, obviously not picking up so much mud. Joshua Coppins, right on the case with Kenneth Gunderson now. And the Honda rider looking to take that position away. Is he going to try and make a move up the inside here? I don't think so. The rider's hogging the line. There's not really a great deal to choose from in this circuit. The rut's very deep. You can see the bikes hardly squeezing through. And Coppins coming down that extremely steep section, quite dangerous and very fast. Trying to find a way past Kenneth Gunderson, the Norwegian who's ridden the Kawasaki 250cc 2-stroke for the last couple of years. Antoine Mayo in this class is on that machine for 2004. We haven't really seen anything of him so far in the 3 motos over the course of this season. And Kevin Strybos still... Oh, Kevin Strybos is actually leading, beg your pardon, from Stefan Everts. Stefan Everts is not yet in the lead. He's trying to shut the gap down to Kevin Strybos on the Suzuki. But Strybos very much in a advantageous position here because he's in front of his countryman Stefan Everts. The little battle going on for 3rd here is holding up, and Josh Coppins find a way past. He flies past him going up the step up and overtakes Kenneth Gunderson on the inside of that turn to take 3rd position. So Coppins, the New Zealander, now holds 3rd. Stefan Everts is a little bit further away in 2nd place. Kenneth Gunderson, having been passed, is down to 4th, and Kevin Strybos still leading this GP. And this is Javier Garcia Vico on the blacked out Honda. He's supposed to be riding an Aprilia this season, but the bike's still not ready for competition. But the Spaniard at his home GP trying to put in a passionate performance here to please the local fans and Vico, I think, holding a position down in 5th or 6th. But Strybos, meanwhile, still out front. You can see some parts of the circuit still very deep, rutty and horrible here. Vico in 5th place, so he is behind Gunnarsson, but some 30 seconds behind. So it doesn't look like Heavy's going to be moving up into the top 4 anytime soon, unless a mistake from one of these riders promotes him. But Strybos, and there is Everts in the background, so Kevin Strybos, someone's gone down at the top of the hill. There might be Joseph Dobes on one of the 250cc Suzukis, but Strybos coming under intense pressure now from Stefan Everts on the factory Yamaha. Everts has closed that gap down immensely, and I think it might have something to do with the lap riders. Strybos is trying to pick his way through, but now surely it's only a matter of time before the superior speed of Stefan Everts, who's clearly lapping so much faster than the Suzuki man in front of him, will count. And we could see Stefan Everts lead a race here once again. He's been struggling physically with a bashed rib just a week before the GP in his old, and he moves through. So Stefan Everts on the straight past the pits, goes past Kevin Strybos to lead the GP here in Spain. The first moto of the day in the MX1 class is now being led by the 7 times world champion, looking for career win number 73 here today. And there is Everts. You see the green absorbent on the top of his helmet just for a little bit of extra protection. In these kind of conditions, the rider's goggle is going to be ditched. Everts passes his teammate Cedric Malott, so Malott being lapped. And what a strange thing racing can be. Only 1 week ago, Malott was the rider doing the lapping. Now he's one of the back markers. I'm sure he'll be doing his best to try and hold up Strybos and prevent the younger Belgian from attacking his older countryman. And the new leader of this moto here, Stefan Everts. And Everts now with a slightly clearer run. He's got to negotiate the back markers just as Strybos had to. And he's already got a 1.4 second advantage over the Suzuki man. Coppins in 3rd, Gunnarsson in 4th. Looking a little bit further down the order, Steve Ramont in 7th place. James Noble on the RWJ Honda, he's in 10th. Mark Huckelbridge on the Chambers KTM is almost near a top 10 placing. But here we're looking at Joshua Coppins, and Coppins has passed Strybos. So Kevin starting to fade a little maybe in these conditions. And Coppins on that 454 stroke, number 31, goes down the hill at the top end of the circuit. I think that's Mio on the Kawasaki 250 in front of him, another back marker. But Coppins has that 2nd place, so it's a good strong ride again from Josh. And the L&M Yamaha team in the pits just giving Everts the signals that he needs. He's got enough of a breathing space to not have to worry too much about Coppins. And Strybos in 3rd position, and I think Stefan Everts is going to come up to lap Joel Smets in 13th place, so it gives you an indication of the amount of lapped riders that the leaders are having to negotiate here. Joel Smets in 13th is about to get passed by his great rival Stefan Everts, and as the riders go down around that final turn onto start and finish straight, here we are looking at Coppins again in 2nd place, and he's got a couple of people in front of him he is going to have to get by. Kevin Strybos not yet in the picture. Strybos well back in 3rd now, once a leader of this GP. You can see the riders snaking, trying to find traction up those step-ups. Incredibly steep, that section of the circuit. And there is Strybos going through the whoops for the final time here in the 35-minute and 2-lap moto. And he has got 3rd place. That's another good ride from Kevin, a DNF. Of course, in the first moto in Zolder, and in the 2nd race he did get that 3rd place. So on for another podium position here in this initial moto. But Stefan Everts is the leader, and he's going to got one more turn to negotiate, and he's going to come round onto the start and finish straight. So the first 25 points of the season for the L&M factory rider Stefan Everts crosses the finish line, and that's the win. Confirmation of the result then: Everts in 1st place from Coppins, Strybos, Gunnarsson, Garcia Vico in 5th, Ramon down in 7th, and Tanolia completes the final event in the race programme for the Motocross Grand Prix of Spain here in Bellpuig is the MX1 Race 2. Michael Pichon on pole position. Inside the gate, we're looking at the back of Joel Smets, Stefan Everts and Brian Jorgensen as the camera gets covered in mud. The riders flying down to the first corner for the last time today. As you can see, the sunshine out now, the track drying a little bit. And I think it might be Jorgensen once more, number 8, who's got the whole shot. It is. The Dane is out front, number 8. Josh Coppins, who got that podium result in the first moto, is in 2nd position. And in third, I believe, is Stefan Everts once more. So we've got two riders who made the podium in the first moto inside the top three. So we could have an interesting battle here to see who grabs the overall. And Kevin Strybos is in fourth, I believe, on that Suzuki. There is the number 24 number rider, and he stalled. So Kevin Strybos having a bit of mechanical trouble coming out of the whoops there. His race has lasted barely 30 seconds, so Strybos in trouble. There's Joel Smets, his teammate, number 3, going through the picture. He's just behind Javier Garcia Vico, and Strybos trying to get the bike restarted. He's pulling the clutch in, trying to free the engine, but it looks like it's something seized there. So again, bad luck for Strybos, as Danny Thebos, he's crashed off that Yamaha. But Strybos, who took a podium result and a DNF in Zolder, is pretty much going to do the same thing again here. Didn't like that bike was going to free up. So the Belgian out of luck here in Spain, and his chances of the overall win have gone out the window. So Stefan Everts in second place, once more having to chase down Brian Jorgensen. I don't think the Danish rider is going to slip off, or hopefully that bike won't break down again for him. But Everts in second place now in a prime position to seal the overall victory. A long way to go still in this GP, of course, and Joshua Coppins in third place is going to be trying to make sure that Everts doesn't have an easy time of it. As you can see now, everything looking a little bit more rosy and brighter here in the Spanish countryside setting of the Bellpuig circuit. The clouds have gone and the sky considerably clearer. A little bit of sunshine warming the drenched crowds here. And Vico getting cheered on by the people who have attended this race despite the poor weather yesterday and this morning. And getting a little bit of a thrill because in fourth place, the Spanish rider who lives in Barcelona, well, she lives in Holland, who was born and raised in Barcelona, now based in Northern Europe, mainly for training reasons, to do with his profession, of course. And Coppins now in third place. It's going to be between the New Zealander and Everts for the overall, if the riders maintain these sort of positions. But Smets is not too far away. He can also influence proceedings here, and Brian Jorgensen, a DNF in the first race, will be hunting second Moto Glory. And he made the podium a couple of times in 2003 in the old 650 class. I beg your pardon, it was in the old MX MotoGP category, and impressing so much that his teammate with a Discali team again for 2004 on the Semi-Works Hondas there. And now Everts coming down the hill, still has Coppins for company, so Josh not able to close up the gap enough to try and make a pass on the Yamaha man. You can see the white almost handkerchiefs, just like Everts has got his pockets inside out, but in fact they're just little towels tucked in his waistband there to try and wipe his gloves and keep the grip on the bars. And as you can see from the graphics, Stefan Everts is the virtual GP leader, so the Belgian could be on for his first GP win of the season if he can keep up this sort of speed and form. And the rider's becoming a little bit strung out, of course, with the mud drying out here in Bellpuig. The single line, as you can see, the shiny strip wearing through. That's the fast route around the circuit that most riders will be taking, and therefore making it a little bit difficult to pass. It's a matter of judging the terrain and where it's possible, and venturing too far from the beaten track could result in some kind of disaster. And Vico in fourth place, just coming under a little bit of tension and pressure from Joel Smets on the Suzuki. Strybos out of the running, of course, so one Suzuki left in this GP. Smets had a bit of mechanical trouble in the first race and finished down the order, of course being passed by Everts in the latter stages, being lapped there, but Joel much closer to his countryman this time out. And Coppins now also just edging a little bit closer to Stefan Everts, so he's closer than he ever has been so far in this race. And Joshua Coppins on the red Honda, the CAS British Honda team, now looking for a consecutive podium result, having finished quite high up in Zolder and secured that top 3. In the meantime, Joel Smets is on the back wheel of Javier Garcia Vico big time, and the Suzuki seems to have a little bit more power. Smets getting the traction down, coming out of that final turn onto the start and finish straight. And I'm sure he's just sizing up Vico here, trying to look for a way past. There he is, taking a slightly outside line, he's going to cut back inside. And Zat Thieber's down again and might be there on the Yamaha. Having fallen much more, and Smets made a mistake on the whoops, and that's lost him a lot of time to Smets. Not a fan of the whoops, we saw him stop there in the previous moto. Now has lost valuable seconds to Vico, and that might just be the incentive that the Spaniard needs to try and push ahead. In the meantime, Brian Jorgensen is in danger of losing his lead here. Stefan Everts substantially quicker. You can see almost 2 seconds in the last couple of laps. He's dropped the threat of Joshua Cobbins. Josh isn't in the background of the picture so much, but Brian Jorgensen is very much in the foreground, along with the Yamaha rider, number 72. So a double moto win, of course, would make the overall classification untouchable in terms of any other riders denting Stefan Everts' chances. And Everts, you can see, trying to take the inside line. Is he going to move over on that little speed bump? I think he has done at the back of the circuit. Brian Jorgensen barely offers any resistance, trying to pick his way through, and I'm sure he'll probably just try and follow Everts for a little bit now, trying to see where the 7-time world champ takes his lines and his path around this circuit. But Everts is the leader once more here in Bellpuig. Nobody can forget, of course, the dramatic win he took in 2001. And Smets moving up the inside on the first turn and takes that position away from Vico. So finally Smets, he looked like he was going to be doing that for a few laps now in the same part of the circuit. Lost a little bit of time on the whoops, but finally made that move stick. And Vico dropping a little bit of position in front of his home fans. Might be disappointed with that, but for sure, Javi is not going to give up. But Smets now up into 4th, and that will be his best finish so far from the 4 motos to date in the 2004 season. I was just mentioning before about Stefan Everts' win here in 2001. His first race back after 2 years out, more or less, for injury, a broken arm and a broken leg at pre-season international races in 2000 and 1999. Pretty much kept the popular Belgian out of the running, but in 2001, his first GP back here in Spain, he was triumphant in the bold 500cc category on the Yamaha, and that pretty much started a 3-year run of success, culminating in his 7th world title and a career record of 72 Grand Prix wins. And Everts, as he passes the pits, gets the sign from his Italian team that win number 73 is very much on the cards. Brian Jorgensen has faded back into the distance, and he could even face a threat from Josh Cobbins, number 31. So you can see this is the battle for 2nd place. Brian Jorgensen, these 2 Honda riders fighting for podium positions, and someone else has gone down up the slope. Can't quite see who that is. That's the Honda, that's Yoshitaka Atsuta. So you can see Joshua Cobbins' teammate falling down on the step-ups. Again, a very tricky place to crash. It's hard to get the bike up right and get going in the right direction. And we're still watching Cobbins trying to launch some kind of assault on Brian Jorgensen. It depends whether the Discali Honda man can pick up his pace just a little bit to defend that 2nd place. In the meantime, Everts is more or less taking it quite easy at the front of the field. He's stretched out an advantage. He's just lapped number 34. That's James Noble on the RWJ Honda, the British rider. And you can see the gap is pulling out to 6 seconds. So Everts still working hard towards the end of this 2nd moto here in Spain, and cutting through these lap riders that pretty much destroyed the race strategy of Kevin Strybos in the 1st moto. Of course, Everts won that one also after passing his younger Belgian countryman. And Cobbins and Jorgensen closer together now than they ever have been, and going through that past lap rider, going down the hill into that huge jump at the bottom. Fantastic place to watch there. The bike's almost flying right over your head. And Jorgensen squirting the power on that straight past the pits, looking a little bit more negotiable now than it was earlier on today. Just looking a little bit further down the order, Michael Pichon in 7th place. Pichon, I think the gate bounced back at him. He got an awful start going into the 1st corner, and Pichon, having worked his way up through the back of the field, is now in 7th. So it's not such a bad result for the Frenchman, but after his pole position yesterday, he would have been expecting more. And Everts coming through that whoop section, he can more or less take it a little bit easy now. He has that comfortable race distance, and we can't even see any other riders remotely catching up the number 72 machine. And the graphic confirms that Everts is, of course, the virtual GP leader, on his way to his 2nd moto win here of the day. 25 and 25, a perfect 50 score for Stefan Everts. I believe that'll make him head the World Championship standings as well. Finished down in the top 10 in both races in Zolder. Quite an understated performance at his home GP. Stefan Everts just 1 week ago, but here showing the form that we've become accustomed to over the last couple of years. And we're watching Brian Jorgensen take over a few of the back markers. I think that was Christian Burnham, who crashed with Cedric Milot in the 1st moto. Cedric Milot we haven't seen anything of either in this race. I think he might have gone down in the early stages. But Stefan Everts, here he is on his final lap. He's going to come past the pits for the last time. already celebrating, punching to the fans, letting the teams know he's number one. He doesn't have to look behind him, there's no one there. Zurevets tips the bike in, he's going to come past the checkered flag. This is win number 73 in the career of Stefan Everts, and a richly deserved one. Superb effort from the Yamaha man. He wins the Grand Prix of Spain here. So the race classification for the second moto race, Stefan Everts, of course, winning from Brian Jorgensen, Joshua Coppins in third, Smets in fourth, Javier Garcia Vico in fifth, Gunderson sixth, Mikael Bichon is seventh, and Marnik Beverts making it up to eighth on his Yamaha. Steve Ramon ninth, Cedric Malot 10th, and Paul Cooper finishes the top 11.
Well, I got a pretty good start, and the first 15 minutes I was again riding very tense, and Brian Jorgensen, he had a big lead at one point, but I was not panicking, you know. I knew that I had to come through, you know, to come be more relaxed, and then I would go faster, and that's what happened. And at the time he started to be, he slowed down a little bit, and yeah, I managed to make the pass, and then I could control the race, and after that I started to relax also.
So the second moto win means win number 73 overall. Does this mean you'll be changing the number on your bike, or?
No, 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 no. It's a very lucky number for me, and I will keep it as long as I'm gonna race. And yeah, I'm happy to win 73. You know, I win so many times, and for me it's always a challenge, you know, to be every weekend again on top. And it's not a matter of winning 100 GPs or 200. I don't care. It's just being on top every weekend.
Aquí tenim la placa de